Yeah, we dropped anchor in Busan. We're on the way to Da Nang. For some reason, they held us up here to get into Da Nang. Something, I guess, military action was going on over there in Vietnam in that area. We couldn't get in right away, so they're going to hold us here at Subic at Sasebo. So anyhow, we were on the hook out there, and we got in about 2 or 3 in the morning. Hit the rack, got up around 10. Took the launch ashore, and I didn't know how long we were going to be there, but it didn't matter. Went to the first bar. It was close to where the launch came in, and it was a Nor bar. And so I went in there and looked over the girls and picked the one I wanted for tonight. And like I always do in the recent years, was buy her, pay her up front, and tell her I'll be back at midnight to take her to bed. And during that time, when I left, I went and had my teeth worked on by a Japanese dentist. I'd had a toothache. And then later, after the Novocaine wore off, I went and ate some good Japanese food. And then I went to believe it or not, a movie. I enjoy Japanese movies, so I went there because I got to understand a little Japanese. But I speak a little Jap, so I need. So I went ahead and watched the movie, got out about, I guess 10 o'clock that night or somewhere about that time, lit a joint up, and I was smoking it on the way out, and met a seaman over by the docks, and he was telling me that the ship was going to leave tomorrow. We were going to be able to get into Da Nang, so that kind of spoiled my thing because the last launch is at 6 in the morning, and I didn't want to catch that. And next to last launch is tonight at midnight, and so that means I had to hurry up and catch that one. So I ran back to Nora Bar, went in there, put out my roach in an ashtray there. Not much left of it anyhow. And she came over to me. She was working behind the bar. And I asked her for my 20 back. Oh, Jesus. Don't ever ask a whore for money back. I learned a lesson. Anyhow, she got mad. But she went ahead and went over there without arguing any further because I told her you could always pick up other sailors. You got plenty of time. And so she threw 20 on the bar, and I had to go to the head. So I went back and went to the bathroom. Took a little while to wash my hands. Came back out. Cops were there. Cops busted me. I didn't know what the hell was going on. And they were saying something in Japanese that I didn't understand. I didn't quite catch their lingo, what they were trying to tell me to do. So anyhow, they took me back to the launch area. In there, they stripped me, and they were searching me. And I just realized they were after narcotics. And so I played Lenny Bruce thing and bent over and let them look up my ass type of a scenario, and that insulted them, so that pissed them off. From that point on, man, their mothers grabbed me, threw me in their car, and ran me downtown and started interrogating me. Asked me how much I had and how much I did and all that dope and everything, and I told them I don't even know what they're talking about. I'd just been drinking. I didn't admit to the dope. And then the captain showed up, and they weren't going to let me go. And that kind of panicked me there. I didn't know what the hell's going on. I figured they'd let me go by now. Nope, they're going to prosecute you. And so I admitted, yeah, I had a joint. Jesus, it held out less than 2 months before this or so. The damn Beatles were up in Tokyo and got busted with a stash, a whole bunch more dope than I had. I figured this is just a jail time or something. I don't know if it was in. I figured they'd let me go, but they didn't. They put me in jail. I woke up the next morning, had a hangover, didn't feel too good. And it was in this jail house I was in, or whatever it was made out of 4x4. Julia, 4x4s, totally open on all 4 sides to the open air. I never been in a jail like that. It had tatami mat. But anyhow, I could look between the 2 inches of these 4x4s that were upright. That was your jail bars. Damn wooden 4x4s. Damnedest jail I've ever seen in my life. Anyhow, a little Japanese guard come over there. He couldn't speak a bit of English. Told me to get out and go he put me in chains, and they were going to take me to another location. And the only thing I ever understood, he said, "Koko Yiddishe," that means come here or something like that. I couldn't understand enough Japanese to get around. Anyhow, put me in chains, carried me over to this other jailhouse, or prison. Actually, the prison went through a big gate, and I went into an office area, and they had my sea bag there. And the gentleman there, the Japanese policeman there, could speak English. He told me to pick warm gear because these cells are not heated. And so I picked out my long johns and all my other heavy gear, work gear, and put them on. And they said you can't wear shoes, so they gave me a tabbies. These are little socks like that you put on with these little clips. I've worn them many years when I lived in Japan, called tabbies. And gave me some gaiters. I'm used to wearing them too, so I could walk pretty good with them just as well as the Japanese. So anyhow, they took me back to a hall, and it split in about 3 different directions. And they took me down to this one called, looked like a detentionary center. It was named. It didn't have English, but it was in Japanese. It meant like a house of detention. And they took me to a cell, and it was pretty close to the guard station. So I had number 1 cell there, and I went in there, and it was only about, it wasn't even 6 foot wide. You could stretch your arms out, and if you leaned a little bit to each side, you could touch the wall. And I could take about 4 or 5 steps, and I'd be at the back wall from the front door opening. And then on the inside had tatami mats, and that was it. You don't wear your gaiters in there, of course. You go in your tabbies. So they shut the door, and it's a steel dam door. It has a slide at the bottom where they feed you through, and they have a little slide at the up eye area, so they can look in and watch you. I was told they had a futon rolled up in underneath on the first shelf below, and of course I knew how to make them up, and I knew what it was, and also they were quite impressed. I knew all this. I didn't let them know I spoke that much Japanese and lived there that long at that time. And the next shelf up, we keep your personal good, and the only thing I could have in there was if I wanted hair, like a brush or toothpaste, and a toothbrush, and a few little things like that. You couldn't carry any razors or sharp instruments in there. So anyhow, the ceiling was about 20 foot high. That's the damnedest high ceiling I've ever seen. One light bulb up there, no globe or nothing. It was just a pure light bulb, clear. And then the window had steel bars, of course, and it had wooden slats with sheet plastic on it. Some of it was ripped out. I could see a wall out there, solid big brick wall about 4 or 5 feet out from the window. And there was an alley in between where the guards would walk, patrol, I guess it is. Inside, behind that wooden thing with them little plastic windows, was your shitter. Across from that was a concrete sink and a concrete floor. And then you stepped over a divider there that went into the wood floor and the tatami mats. And they had a shelf on one side of the wall there that I could use books, anything like that I didn't want to put up there. And I was told I couldn't sleep in the daytime on the mat. I could sit and walk and do things like that, but nothing else. First couple of days was horror. I went through hell trying to adapt to this damn thing. And there was some writing on the wall. Looks like someone had scratched something in there, and I gradually got to where I could read it, and it was in English of all things. And it told me not to fight the system. Just admit you did it, because he said, I've been here 45 days, and they haven't even had a hearing, and I pleaded innocent, and I shouldn't have. And once you plead that, you're done, he says. So anyhow, I got the message. We had a trustee, a Japanese American, Nishi American, they call him. His dad was a sergeant in the Air Force, and he had got put in prison for killing somebody, I guess. And they had him taking care of the American prisoners in there. I didn't know if there was any more than me, myself, but he spoke good English. We got along pretty good. As time went by, I started really getting emotional because I wasn't talking to anybody at that time. It was about 3 days in solitary. It really gets to you after a while. And then I got to thinking, man, this is crazy as hell. I mean, how long am I going to be in this damn thing? And then before I know it, it was the next day they handed me my indictment statement. And I read it, and then they had another mimeograph sheet telling the time I had, the maximum time I could serve. And all these charges total up to 14 years hard labor. I was thinking, Jesus Christ, for a roach. And asking for $20 back from a whore. I couldn't believe I was going to go through this. So I started laughing, and they thought it was funny as hell. The guards started worrying about me because I was laughing out loud, thinking how crazy this is. Do you believe this? And they sent a doctor in. And this doctor injected me. He was going to give me an injection of, I guess, something to make me go to sleep or calm down or something. And I started laughing so loud because here they are mainlining me, and I'm in here for a roach. So I started laughing louder. I couldn't believe it. To come into prison to get mainlined, and I'm smoking a damn joint. Anyhow, I'm sitting there stupefied. I went to sleep. They let me sleep then after they gave me the shot, so had the futon made out and did it. Woke up in about 2 or 3 in the morning. Every morning they woke you up with a William Tell overture on the song, and they turned the damn overhead light on, just like you did at night. About 9 o'clock they turned the light out and played some lullaby song so you go to sleep. And they fed you rice, unrefined rice, like double kernels and the black center on them, and gave us some sort of cabbage soup. It felt like flour floating in it. And, of course, a little raw fish on the side or something like that, and soy sauce and green tea, and typical Japanese starvation diet to me. No bread or nothing like that. So noodles maybe every now and then, but that's it. And I got to work. I got tired of that eating, and the trustee told me you can buy food on Sunday. What do you want for Sunday? And I said, hell, give me some prawn curry. I looked at the menu he had, and it had prawn curry on there, and I ordered it. And I had to pay for it. And unfortunately, I had money at the front office from my pay for the ship on that 2-week trip. That was a lot of money in them days, a couple of $100. So I kept buying every Sunday I'd be buying my prawn curry till the money ran out, I guess. And it wasn't about, I'd say 3 days later, I hear them bringing in some other Americans because they were talking to each other. I could hear them in the hallway going down the passageway there. And they were yelling. One guy was calling them Japs and yelling names at them and all that. And I'm thinking, man, this guy's crazy. And they locked them up, and they were still yelling in their cells. One of them was, not both of them. I didn't get to meet them till a couple of days later. We went in for the hot baths. They gave us a bath once a week. It's one thing about Japanese, they stay clean. And in there I learned that this one guy was James, and he was James Condon, I think his name was, and Eddie Condon, a famous nightclub speakeasy back in the 30s up in New York, or 20s, was his brother. He was James Condon. He was a musician. He played, I think he played concussions, like trumpets and things like that, or saxophone. And he was pretty famous back in his day too, I heard. And he was laughing at me. We were talking for a little bit. He smoked shit. He smoked grass for years back in those days. He never dreamed this would happen to him in Japan, because he was out in a bar and he met Frank Barnum, and Frank introduced him, gave him a joint. And he said, hell yeah, he'd smoke a joint. And they both got busted. And here's poor James he took a roach or took a joint from Frank, and now he's getting out of jail like I am. And Frank had a pretty good sized stash. I guess he had a lid or two. I don't remember what he had, but it had a bit of quantity on board ship they had confiscated. So he was in pretty deep trouble with as far as the shipping company. Going to be with the Coast Guard, I could tell that. You got aboard ship, you got a problem. And so we went on through waiting on our time to go to court and trial. And I tried to tell them that before we go to trial, you got to make sure you plead guilty. Don't fight them, because this is a different system of laws over here. It's I think we understood it as a Brownell parliamentary system. It's English type of law. You're guilty until you prove yourself innocent. So just go ahead and say you're guilty, and they make judgment on you faster. And I was told that also by the guard and by the trustee to do that too. So it was good advice by them too. Plus the guy wrote on the wall. And every week we'd take the bath, and every month we'd get a haircut and a shave. And that was about it. We'd go in the yard one day, every day, I guess, if the weather was good, for 1 hour. We get to walk the yard. And that was in a little square area of about 100 yards. And that was it. Not even that much. 40-yard square, I guess it was. And it wasn't much because you could walk around in a minute. And we get out there and talk. And the other Japanese that we were with, we found out from the trustee, he was out there with us talking, and found out that he was pointing them out. One guy out there had killed an old man and an old lady in a pawn shop. He was pawning a radio, and they didn't give him enough money, so he killed them both. The Japanese guy. That's who we were tied up with here in this house of detention. Murderers. I mean, crazy people. Man, it was something else. And here you are out there walking the yard with these nuts. And so, but they treated us just as bad, like we were murderers. It was no different, hell. So we went on through it for another week or so to do that routine, and finally we said they were going to, it was about February, much longer. It was February. We'd been there nearly November, December, January. It was 3 months before we even got court time. So court was up and next week, and we were getting anxious for that, and they kept reminding me, plead guilty. So I did. So we went in there, and they read off the charges and what we had faced, and each one of us had to get up and listen to the charges and then say guilty or not guilty, and we did that. And Shore Patrol was there too. The Navy was there watching, make sure everything was going according to our international rights, I guess. As we left there, and they took us back to prison, we sat in there another, months. It was about March, somewhere in the end of March. We got word that they had concluded our case, and the judge, in between, I meant to tell you, in between the trustee and the guard told me to write a letter and tell them about my kids back states and how I was ashamed and needed to go home because I have to take care of my family and all the stuff that really Japanese really respect a lot, family and honesty, and also respect in front of your own children. So I wrote that letter, and I don't know if anyone else did. I don't know if Frank or James did or not. But anyhow, later I got to thinking, and I think that's the reason they let all of them out, because I think Frank would have been nailed. Because one time Frank was in his room raising hell with the Japanese. He called them names and everything else. And one day they were going to feed him, and they went down there. No, the guy was walking. That's what it was. He was inspecting the cells, and you could hear him walking because the chains would rattle on his side there because he would have caught all the keys. And you could hear him walk cell to cell, and then you hear the clack, and you know he's looking in the room. You hear him walking up the next cell, clack, and you open it up. You hear the rattle of the chains. And so old Frank was sitting there waiting, hearing him come up till he opened the window, and he had to piss. He pissed on this guy. Oh, motherfucker. It just, that did it. And this guy yelled. I can't remember what all he called him, but it was every name you could think of. And he ran down, and they got a hose, a water hose. I heard them dragging it, and I looked out down where they open up for the food, and I could get it open, slide it, and I saw the hose go by, the piece of the hose go by, and I said, "Oh shit!" And they went there and slammed the door, and Frank yelled at them, and all I could hear was the power of the hose going on. They washed him down, his cell, him and everything. And I'm telling you, it was cold in there. It wasn't warm. I mean, it was around 40 degrees inside this damn place. And I hear him slam the door, and he's out there screaming and hollering. Oh, Frank was, and they were laughing like crazy. And they were cleaning up the water all around, mopping it and everything. But so I figured he was going to have to serve some hard time. I didn't figure they'd let him out because of what he'd done. But damn, they didn't let him out. And I swear to God, I think they let him out just because I wrote that damn letter. Sometimes I think I got his ass out of there because I think they would have kept him. But anyhow, like I was saying, we finally got our sentences, and it was they sent to the time served and deportation from Japan, the land of Japan, I think the way they stated it. So they're going to send us to immigration camp for deportation. And about a day later, after we got that word, they packed us up and put us on a bus to go to the train. And they chained us in, and I thought we'd be out of chains by then since the conviction thing was over, but nope. They had us in chains, took us down to the damn train station to go to Fukuoka, to the immigration's camp up there. And when we got on the bus, they had us chained down, and we went to the station. And just when we got in the station and got ready to get on the train, they took the chains off, and the two guys that were escorting us went on the train with us. And the Japanese civilians over there just walked away from us. They walked around us 2 or 3 feet. They wouldn't come close to us. And I kept seeing these people staring at us, and they had weird looks in their faces. I'm not kidding you. They looked at us like we were from Mars. And so we got to Fukuoka, and the immigrations agencies, police or whoever they were, met us there and took us in custody. And of course, they didn't chain us. They drove us in a car over to this building. It was about a 2-story building, and all the immigrants were upstairs, and the offices of the police were downstairs, and you had a gate that went into the upstairs. So they opened the gate, and we go upstairs, and when we get in there, these people looked at us, and they got up from tables. They were playing cards and talking and all that, and they got up and they all looked at us, and one guy handed me an apple. He says, "Where have you guys been?" And I said, "Prison. We just got out of prison." They said, "God, you guys are hungry?" I said, "Yeah, we are." And they started feeding us, and they said, and they acted like we got out of Auschwitz or something, because the way they were telling how we looked. We looked skinny and pale, and well, I guess we've eaten in about 4 months or 3 months, whatever it was. So I guess we did lose a lot of weight, and I looked pretty straggly anyhow, and had no way to comb your hair, and your hair sticking out like a I think I used butter one time, even my hair, trying to keep it down, and brushed it. So they gave us candy, and they gave us everything they had there before the meal came up that afternoon. And we ate the Japanese meal. It was a little bit better than the prison food, but not that much. I'll tell you, in my opinion, it wasn't that much better. Oh, they had soba. They had nice noodle soups, and they had fish and things like that. That was good. And there's a lot of vegetables too. We ate some vegetables and stuff that we didn't get in prison. And it was about, I'd say 2 or 3 days. They told us they were going to send out the three of us together to Yokohama because they could get a ship, American ship, out going back to the States, and better than they could down there because that was mainly a naval base down there, and naval ships came in more in Sasebo. So they put us on a train next day with one of them rocket trains going north, and we were going, of course, going up under the water, I guess, and onto Honshu Island, the main island, headed for Tokyo, but we're going to Yokohama. And, of course, we went through all the big cities of Nagoya, Kyoto, and most, I can't name them all, but it was 2 or 3 hours before we got up. It might have been 4 hours. Jesus, it might have been longer than that. Anyhow, I got to drink coffee on the way up, and that's something I enjoyed. Jesus, finally got some coffee. Japanese is kohi. And I kept saying kohi o kudasai, and finally I got some coffee. And when we got there, we went into the main office, and they had, apparently we never carried our sea bags. These other people were carrying our sea bags. They would never let us carry. I could never figure that out either, but they carried the sea bags. And we got in there, they checked us in the office, and it was a ranch style layout, horseshoe shaped building that we were in. And we went in through the gate again, similar to that, and I was assigned to a quarters with three other. See, there was a Cuban and two Greeks in this one cell out, and it wasn't a cell; it was like a room, but it was a double deck. You had bunk beds, and so it was 4 to a room. And I didn't see Frank and them for a day, and I was in there, and only the Cuban spoke a little English, and his Spanish was very good, of course, but I couldn't speak much Spanish, a little bit. The Greeks, I didn't even understand at all. All I can remember is Akamitsu and Greek. That's all I ever learned in that damn place. And what it is today, I have no idea. The first night was pretty quiet in there, and got along all right with them. And next day, they opened the doors to each of the rooms and allowed you to walk around in this hallway area, this U-shape. Well, it was a T-shaped hallway, and we went into an area like a lounge area where everybody went and talked and played like they did down in Fukuoka. Same thing, play cards and talk, what you're doing and all that. And I met a lot of foreigners there. One guy couldn't speak English. He spoke French. I met a Swiss guy that spoke German and French. We got along, and the poor guy could only speak, he's Belgian, and Belgian French is a little different than Parisian French. And we got along pretty good, but he was wanting me to deliver a letter. This Belgian gentleman wanted me to deliver a letter to the UN human rights thing because he's been mistreated. He's been there for nearly a year in this immigration camp. Well, he wrote the letter, and I took it with me, and I told him I'd try to get it to him, and which I never did. I kind of regret. I still have the letter probably around here somewhere. But as I got along, I had these buffalo hide boots too that I'd gotten in San Francisco or out there. I had some cowboy boots that I had in my sea bag, and I wore them. I was wearing them, and this Swiss guy wanted them so bad. He offered me all type of money for these stupid cowboy boots that I had, buffalo hide that were made out of. And I never sold them because that's the only shoe I had on right now. I took out my sea bag. Yeah, because all the other boots I had were my work boots for the ship. Anyhow, it was we'd been there, Jesus, I guess 4 weeks. Yeah, it was about 4 weeks we'd been there. We've been through a lot, too, in those 4 weeks at that boot camp, that immigration camp. Met some more Americans that came in. One American that just got out of the hospital, they caught him with heroin, and he'd swallowed it, and it about killed him. I mean, he about died from swallowing the goddamn I don't know what he had, a spoon or what he had, but boy, he drank his, and a couple other guys who were with him too were busted. I never knew what happened to them because they were the lady that came down from the council. She was a counselor, I guess. Her name was Linda Feifel. I forget, a good-looking girl. She was college age. I think she was doing her apprenticeship or something there, or tenure, you know. Anyhow, she asked if we need anything, and same old thing. The guy down in Conda asked us. I meant to tell you, we got visited by the same thing. A consulate down there came to us, and Conda prison asked the same thing, and he was gay as a $3 bill, and he took a liking to me, and they asked me if he could do anything, any favors, books and stuff like that, candy, and I said, no, nothing. I just like to get my books out of my sea bag. I had all the trilogy of Tolkien and the Hobbits. I'd like to get that out. And he said, sure, and got that. And he says, you want anything else? I said, well, if you got some spare books. He said, I do. I have some in the car. Let me go get them. He went and got these 2 books, Bridge Too Far and some mystery book. Anyhow, I got to read those while I was in Conda prison. That was a nice relief, I tell you. Reading the Hobbits was an adventure in itself while you're in solitary confinement, I guarantee you. You wonder what's real at times. Anyhow, back to camp up in Yokohama. We were told that we were going to all 3 have to get on the same ship, and that I didn't buy. I couldn't understand. I'm not related to these 2 guys, James and Frank. They are busted for a total different charge. I only had a 2.4 grams. I didn't have cramp, and I felt that I got nailed for something really they couldn't prove, because a damn roach in the ashtray on the bar is what they got me for, and by me admitting I smoked joints. Well, anyhow, we went back to the room that we were staying in, and for a couple of nights it was hell in that room. These 2 Greeks hated each other. One was from Crete and one's from Athens. And in the middle of the night, one would attack the other. And I'm telling you, this went on for several nights. And they fight seriously. They were knocking against our rack, hitting us too. And the Cuban was a big dude. He finally, one night when they got in a fight, he had enough. I think he grabbed both of them by the nape of the neck and threw them against the wall and yelled in Spanish to them that he threatened their lives. And I think they understood. Because I never heard a peep for them 2 fuckers. Anyhow, I kind of smiled at Cuban. He smiled back because I guess he saw the humor in it too. So anyhow, I went to bed that night and got up next morning and talked to them, see what they had heard, and they hadn't heard anything either. Frank or James, I figured they might hear something that we're more than I did from that consulate that came in. It was the same stuff. All of us had to go back together. And I asked her if I could catch one of the ships that's on the list in there. There's a shipping list that seamen are needed. And it means you could get a job on a ship and get out of there. And she said, no, you can't. They won't allow you to do that. And I said, why not? I'm free. I got my seaman's papers. I can go anywhere I want. He said, no, they want you back there. We got orders. And I didn't think that's true. Because I raised hell about that. It just didn't seem right. And there was a list on there for a French ship, Mazare, and I went to the Japanese guys and said, I can take that job. I speak French, and I got my papers, and I'm an AB, and that's what they wanted on this French ship. And so they got a hold of the master, and the consul got a hold of it, and they stopped it. So I waited another day or so, and I finally found another ship, a German tanker, Stavanger. I said, well, they need an AB, I'll take that one. And the Japanese guy says, I don't know if they'll let you catch a ship, but I'll call them. So they called the damn shipping agent, and he said, yeah, we can use it. And before I could get out of there, they stopped it again. Jesus Christ, I'm just really upset. I'm getting tired of sitting in here in this damn place. And so it was about 3 days. I think that was on a Friday, and I think it was a Tuesday afternoon, late afternoon. I was bored silly, just tired of the whole damn mess. Didn't care about, got tired of talking and playing cards, and you know how it is, just gets bored after a while. And it was around 4, this guy at card came in, got the three of us up and said, get ready to go, get your gear in here, and get your rooms cleaned up. And we're headed to the docks in Yokohama, and got a ship. And that made me happy as hell. I didn't give a damn then about 3 of us going together or not. Frank was a wiper, and James was an oiler on the ship, so they in the black gang. I was on deck. The bus came, they threw the sea bags in there in the back, and took us down there. One guy just drove us down there, and we got to the dock. I guess they didn't think I was going to run away then, and they let us out at the gate. We walked down the dock area carrying our sea bags. I almost wanted to run. That's how frantic I was to get out of Japan at that time. Just about ran. Got down the gangway, and I'm going up that summit first off, man. And bosun met me and said, you're on the 8 to 12, go throw your gear in there and come on back, get a bite to eat. And I said, shoot, yeah. So I went through my gear in the 8 to 12 forecastle, went back to mess hall in the black sea. Messman came in and brought me some food, boy. Oh, Jesus. Turnip greens, mashed potatoes, and a ham steak with cornbread, and black-eyed peas, too, on the side. Oh, Jesus, I was at home. I thought I went to heaven. I could have killed that guy. Man, it was good. So anyhow, I stood watch at night. In fact, it was just a gangway watch, but we left that early morning, and we were underway by the time I woke up the next day on the 8 to 12. And I worked with the bosun pretty good. He was a black bosun. First one I ever had that was black, and he and I got along pretty good. In fact, he told me, he says, I'm just shocked that you got in this type of trouble. You're a good seaman or something, he said, and that really flattered me and made me feel good. And we got along real good, this guy and I. And in fact, he helped me out when we got back to Oakland, and I guess he talked to the Coast Guard because they didn't do much to me. I saved my seaman papers, and the letters from Weyerhaeuser they had on record too, and also a couple of shipping companies that recommended me for a mate, because I'd ask them to, because I wanted to get a third mate's license. I was going to Adobe's navigational school and getting ready to take my exam. So I got away pretty good on that deal, but it's still, having a narcotics charge on you and being deported from a country like that, for a seaman, that's not a good life. So I decided I'd quit going to sea at that point in time, but kind of some days I regret it because I love the sea so much. Yeah, that's the story of don't ever ask a whore to give you your money back, boys. I'll guarantee you that. It may change your life. See you later.